People's Keys and Prince. Today we'll talk about, does stats boost your chances of getting scouted? Let's go. So it's a really good question by someone in the comments who put in a very good question to myself to say, does this the stats game boost your chances of scouts to see you? And to be fair, something like Yannick said recently in a podcast, he said, back in the day when he was playing as a winger and other wingers, this is where a lot of wingers died off or had to transfer to become right backs or left backs. It's because, the demand in today's game is that you need to create scoring opportunities through an assist or score goals. These are the two. And so, gone are the times where you can have a really good game and, don't get nothing on the score sheet. He said you need to be doing either goals or an assist. And so stats does play a huge part, but I'll put it in this way. Number one thing about stats when it comes to scouts, when I speak to a lot of scouts, spoke to scouts all over Europe, and I'll break it down from my experience to speaking with them. What does stats look in majority of them on their eyes? Number one thing, what stats look like for most scouts is a way for them to inquire and do homework on you. That's it. So if you send a stat sheet to say you scored 10 goals in 3 or 4 games, it will just lead them to go and do an inquiry research on your history, who you're playing for, who you're playing against, etc. Maybe a few phone calls at best. It doesn't require you, it doesn't lead for you to get in trial, but what it does do is get them talking, maybe getting a few scouts to come down and watch you at best. That's probably the end result of some stats, is that they will get somebody to go and say, what's your fixture list, majority of the time. And I will talk about in today's video what really gets scouts attention. In another video I'll talk about what scouts actually look for, because there's a lot of videos people bring on Premier League scouts that are no longer scouts today, and these videos are like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. The times changed, Brexit changed a lot of things, financial situation, clubs has changed, football has changed, the system, how England wants to English clubs are playing. A lot of things have changed in the game. Clubs are getting pumped in a lot of money. You're going to see a lot of things change in the next year or two in terms of smaller clubs getting a lot of investment, which we've seen already with Wrexham, etc. So the game is changing. So let's go with number one, is what really gets scouts attention. And number one thing is, if you're under 18s and you're playing with men, you're guaranteed to probably, if you have good links and you are doing the right correct numbers, you will get looked at. I.e., if you're like 16 like Jaden was, who's currently playing for Chelsea. I remember when he was at Woking, and I said it to my friends, listen, this guy's a baller. See this brother, he's got no manners. When I saw him in the FAU Cup bullying up, man, I said this guy's good. And he was being looked at by a lot of clubs, to be fair. Went on the first team stage and he showed up, and that's why he's at Chelsea. A lot of people said, he shouldn't have gone Chelsea, but it was probably, for me, a good move on his development to get technically sharp. And now he went out on loan to Leyton Orient, which is a good move. It signs that he's in need of first team football. But it was just an example. He played National League Prem first team football at the age of 16, I believe, and was Wokin's youngest scorer, or I think the youngest appearance, youngest player that ever played for them, or youngest scorer. Like, he was a good player. And so if you're like 17, 18 and you're playing men's football, as I said in previous my video, I know scouts that will say, let me see a fixture list. There's clubs today that will not name, but there's a lot of clubs that will not sign players, especially in like League 2, League 1, that will not sign you if you're not playing first team football at a certain age. They just won't do it. So that's number one. Number two is that they would assess you for a number of games before the invitation gets sent up. So this is where you could be watched for 3-4 months before getting invited down. This is why I tell players about, you need to be playing games. You need to be playing. There's no, and when I mean playing games, if you're playing in a team, you need to be showing up and showing out every game and every opportunity. Watching your body language, watching how you deal with being subbed, watch how you deal with your team losing. And I want to talk about in the next video what scouts look for. which I don't want to go too much in this video. I'm just going to give you what gets a scout's attention. All right, and number 3 is what causes scouts to get their attention where they want to move for you to get transferred or get signed to a scholar, etc., is if you've been in the system. And unfortunately, it is what it is. I know scouts right now that will not touch players if they're not in the system. For example, you could be 17 years old playing for a Ryman Premier side, but you're 17 years old and you just got released from an academy side and you was only there when you was like 14, 15. They will lean towards you, the player that got released of an academy, rather than a player that's playing in men's first team. There's clubs that do that, and the majority of clubs do that. There's about, I say, 70 to 30% ratio of clubs that will lean to that side. And so it is what it is with English football at the moment when it comes to that. But like I said, if you're like Jaden, you're showing out, you know, clubs have to pay attention to what you're doing if you're doing really well at men's football. In my next video, I'm going to talk about what do they look for.